Welcome to our presentation on producing videos. We are Lisa Barza, Nora Elliott, and Sam Postal. First, we will talk about how to produce video interviews. Interviews are a great way to create content that is cheap to produce, effective for gathering and presenting information, and easy to edit into the program you are producing. The one drawback, however, is that interviews are very unforgiving. You must get everything right the first time, and the interview must flow smoothly for everyone involved. There are 5 main steps in preparing for an interview. You must contact the guests and make arrangements for the time of the interview. You must choose a location for the interview. You must prepare the equipment and set up at the location prior to the interview. And lastly, you must do any technical checks of the equipment to make sure that everything will flow smoothly. There are 3 people involved in an interview. The first is the interviewer. He or she facilitates the interview by asking the questions and guiding the discussion. The next person involved is the guest. They are the one being interviewed, so they do most of the talking. The last person involved is the viewer, or the person watching the interview on TV. A successful interview will include all 3 of these people. The interview starts by the interviewer inviting the viewer into the conversation by introducing the topic and the guest. Next, the interview asks questions to the guest and guides the conversation. A good conversation should flow from light, simple questions to more emotional topics. The interview is concluded by the interviewer thanking the guest and saying goodbye to the viewer. The direction in which the interview and guests are facing is very important. They must be facing the right way so that it appears that they are talking to each other. If they are both facing the same direction, it will look like they are talking to someone else. They must both be slightly angled, but not too much. You should always be able to see both eyes of the person. Some common interview shots are mid-shot, medium close-up, or MCU, establishing shots, and cutaways. Interviews should start with a loose mid-shot of the interviewer and guest, and as the interview progresses, zoom in on the guest. Wider shots are more casual and should be used for lighter content. Tighter shots show more intensity. As the emotion of the interview progresses, the shot should progress to a close-up of the guest. When composing the interview shots, there are many factors that must be taken into account. Lighting sets the mood. Soft light creates a more intimate feel, whereas harsh light creates a more confrontational mood. It is also important to consider the perceived relationship of the interviewer and guest. Placing them closer is more intimate, whereas having the interview behind a desk creates a sense of authority. Any props should be placed in front so that they can be easily referred to. The background of the interview must be free of distractions such as signs or objects that appear to be growing out of the guest's head. The background should also be appropriate for the context of the interview. Eye lines are an important factor because uneven eye lines can feel uncomfortable or create an unwanted sense of authority. The guest and interviewer's eyes should be level. If necessary, different chair heights or standing platforms should be used to ensure that everyone is the same height. Our second article is 13 Steps to Better Instructional Visuals for Electronic Presentation. Step 1 is understanding the media. Well-designed graphics can increase understanding and improve retention. Well-designed presentations have consistent form and colors and fonts that fit and complement the presentation. Step 2 is to simplify the general composition. This can be done by bulleting keywords and main points. You should spend about 2 to 5 minutes explaining and elaborating on the content of each slide. Step 3 is don't squeeze too much information on each page. 25 words per page is a good guideline, with 5 to 7 words per line and 5 to 9 words per page. Step 4 is to organize a basic presentation outline. First should be presenters' names, the topic, the class, and other important information. Second, the outline should include objectives so that the audience knows where the presentation is going. Next should be the body of material, followed by a repetition of the objectives, which serves as a review. And lastly, the outline should have a summary of the assignments or required action. Step 5 is to limit colors and control contrast. Large areas of heavily saturated colors such as red and orange should be avoided. You must also make sure there is a contrast between the background and the text, and that the background is not too loud or distracting. Step 6 is select a typeface appropriate for electronic media. The font should be bold with thick strokes so that they are easy to read, and the same typeface should be used throughout the presentation. Step 7 is keep transitions between slides smooth. The transitions should be consistent from slide to slide, and these should be kept simple. Step 8 is to scan images for best resolution. Use a resolution of 72 dots per inch and scan images at 75 to 50% actual screen size. Also, a universal color palette should be used so that colors stay consistent when transferred. Step 9 is to use a spreadsheet and instructional software with care. As much as 75% of the image resolution can be lost when converting, so be careful. Step 10 is carefully select a 35mm slide. Word slides do not convert well to TV, and there is a drop in resolution. Step 11 is choose appropriate printed visuals and transparencies. Graphics should have a horizontal format and should be consistent in size to eliminate the need to zoom in and out. Step 12 is hand-lettered visuals can still work. For hand lettering, you must print legibly with a dark marker on light-colored paper. The final step, Step 13, is to prevent embarrassment, double-check spelling and grammar, and expect problems during your presentation. Thank you for listening to our presentation.